Welcome, everybody, to another Saturday night live stream. Tonight is going to be our stream all about the taxes. So we will both be here, myself and Nate Polmateer, to answer all of your questions about taxes, about what you need to do, about how you should be handling the crypto side, the stock side. Well, heck, we can even answer probably real estate information as well. So before we get too deep into it, Nate, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Candace. Tax season is always an exciting time of year for me because I'm a nerd. Although this year it's a little bit of a lagger, but I always enjoy tax season and trying to find those new little nuggets of maybe I can get an extra savings this year or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of people in this community, I think this may be they're fairly new to investing and new to crypto,
Mhm.
so this could be a very interesting tax year for a lot of folks. Do you remember your first complicated year when you started bringing stocks and crypto into it?
Yeah, my first few years was just like a T4, right? And then as you add in donations and stocks and selling your home and cryptocurrency, my first cryptocurrency tax year was actually 2020. So it's the first year I actually had to claim something because I don't do a lot of trading or even
Right,
moving coin to coin. So I don't have a lot of taxable moments,
which is
if you
cool.
will. Yes, I try to keep that on the down low, like as low as possible.
Right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was Litecoin, I believe, when you first started.
Yeah, that was my first. That's my I don't even know, my baby. That's the one that I first got into when I started investing in crypto. Was Litecoin on Coinbase.
Oh, have you ever sold any Litecoin, or have you just been DCAing all the way since then?
So in 2020, I sold 90% of my holdings. So I did sell all of my Litecoin, and I sold about 90% of my Bitcoin.
Oh,
That was so we moved from, I told you we moved from, well, I told you off show that we moved from Niagara to the London area. And during that move, I wasn't actually working. I was on parental leave. So it ended up eating up a lot of we had some savings. We had about $40,000 in savings that we were using over a year.
mhm.
And it ate into that a lot. So we ended up using credit cards. And so once we got to London, I had about $18,000 in credit card debt. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell, probably the saddest moment of my life, because now that I look back, I'm going to sell all my Litecoin. So I sold 17 Litecoin at the time. I think I sold them for $950. You can do the math on that,
Mhm.
but it's a
Yep.
lot more than that now. And I sold 1.25 Bitcoin.
Uh-huh.
So paid off the credit cards and everything, which was great.
But at the
Don't
same
want to don't
time,
want to don't want to look back and cry that I probably would have had at the peak about $120,000, but yeah, paid off 17 grand or so in credit card debt. So
you also created capital gains there.
hmm hmm yeah,
How
absolutely.
how
It
bad was
wasn't it wasn't actually a huge amount.
Mhm.
So I was about $4,000 in capital gains. So I actually had $8,000 in gains, and then you get your capital gains is half of what you get taxed on, half of that,
Mhm.
right? Um, so yeah, but I had enough other areas that I could bring my income down quite a bit. So the capital gains weren't too bad
Okay.
for
Were
my
you
taxable
using your
bracket.
RRSP a lot that year, or
Yeah, and charitable donations, and also my moving expenses, and also because I'm a pastor, we get a living expense
Oh,
that you
really?
can also claim.
Okay.
So yeah, my taxes are fairly complicated compared to maybe some average
Mhm.
people, in just people that have just a T4 or something like that. So yeah.
Now, you did mention charitable donations. Now, how exactly does charitable donations work tax-wise?
So charitable donations, you get a percentage, um, and you can claim eligible amount of gifts up to 75% of your net income. So if you have, I don't know, $50,000, I don't have a calculator on me. maybe $10,000, you can claim $7,500 of your net income for gifts or certified, property,
Okay.
land that's been given to you. Yeah. So there's like a tax rate that's applied. So it's 15% on
Mhm.
the first $200, and then 29% on anything after that.
Okay. And that comes straight off of your income?
Yeah. So what it is a non-refundable tax credit.
Mhm.
So basically what it does is it brings your net income down. So
Yeah.
if you made $10,000 that year and you claimed $7,500, then 29% of a portion of that you could claim against your tax, and it would bring your tax bracket down. Some years it doesn't even make sense to
Right.
actually claim charitable givings, especially if it's a low amount, like if it's like $100 or something like that. And
Right.
you can actually stack those up each year,
Okay.
up to 5 years. So you can take all of your charitable donations and just stack them and stack them and stack them, and then on year 5, claim them all. Now you
Right.
do have to claim them the year that you donate, and then it will show a carry forward on your
Right. So
taxes.
you're claiming them, but you're just not using them then.
That's right. Yeah.
So you're just
Yeah.
sort of carrying it forward each year. That makes a lot of sense. Now, with political contributions, you're getting more of that of a percentage, are you not?
Yeah, it's pretty high. I had the document up here. So the maximum contribution amount you can claim is $1,275,
Mhm.
which translates into a maximum. Now, the difference between political contributions and charitable donations are a non-refundable tax.
Mhm.
So you don't actually get money back. It lowers your income bracket or
Right.
lowers your income down, your taxable income down, where federal and provincial political donations is an actual cash credit back to you. So
Oh,
anytime you make, so the maximum contribution amount is $1,275. If you were to donate $1,275 to the Green Party, the NDP, Liberal Party, Conservatives, PPC, whatever political choice you have, you'll get $650 back. So that's a pretty decent amount. So 50% of any amount between $400 and $750,
mhm.
and 33% of amounts over $750.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Oh, yeah, I know. I haven't been donating a lot to charity this year, so I
It's interesting in that like whether you make donations or not, but one of the things that I find really interesting is for when you're giving, your money is actually going a lot farther. So you can even give more. It's almost like incentivizing you to give more. So whenever you give, $1,000 and it brings down your income a bit more, you may be getting tax back, and you could actually give more. And yeah, giving is I don't know, I really enjoy it, and
yeah.
just like how it, you know,
No, it does make
share
a
the
lot
love, right?
um, and the reason I haven't done a lot this year is because I haven't really had much of an income,
Mm.
as I'm putting in my time as a free YouTuber to work towards turning it into something else. So it does add up. Let's take a look and see who we got in the house here. All right. We have Bleak in the house. Hi, Bleak.
Hey, Blake.
We have Verena, and Verena
Hey,
was
Karina.
the one who sat with me all the way through my last Twitch stream last Sunday when we were having all of those issues.
Amazing.
That was tomorrow. We're going to do another Twitch live stream. This time it's going to be the sandbox. So
Oh,
it's
that's
going to go
exciting.
a lot better. All right. And Jordan is in the house. Hi, Candace and Nate. Hope your Saturday was well. It's doing good. It's good to see you here, Jordan. And we have Dalje. Hello.
Hello,
And
hello.
we got Riley. Hey, all. Perfect.
Hey, Riley.
All right. Let's just start with all of your basic deadlines for everybody. So I'm sure everybody knows that the deadline is normally the end of March. Or sorry, the end of April.
April.
I don't know
I was
why.
like, holy crap, not the end of March.
I keep wanting to say the end. I don't know why. It's, yeah, you have to have all your forms out by the end of March. But here's the interesting thing this year. The end of April is on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually get an extra couple of days. I think it's like May 2nd. Everything has to be postmarked by. So that is kind of neat. It does give you a little bit of extra. If you are self-employed, you get even a bit more time. You get an extra 15 days. So you get till the middle of was it middle of May? No, middle of June.
Middle of May. Yeah, middle of May. Yeah, May 17th or 18th. Yeah.
Yeah. See, there we go. I'm like, my dates are getting challenged today. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so those are your dates to get everything all together. I don't know if anybody has actually done all their taxes yet. I thought about doing my taxes this week. I just didn't do them. Next week, though. Next week, because I need to film it, and because I'm going to do mine through Wealthsimple and turn that into a walkthrough.
Sweet. I'm doing mine through TurboTax again, so I'm going to do another walkthrough on that. Just because I did my mom's taxes this past week, and there's some new nuggets in there, which is kind of cool. Not that I can remember them all, but there are a few nuggets in there this year.
Okay, so what? Just a couple of tax changes you noticed, or
yeah, just a couple, and just on the TurboTax platform, they've changed some things. So last year when I filed, or 2020 when I did 2020's taxes, so yeah, that would have been last year when I filed in 2021 for 2020, they didn't have a crypto area. You actually had to go into mutual funds and stocks and then put in your disposition and how much you bought and how much you sold and that. So this year they actually have a crypto section. So that's kind of cool. I want to see how that works out for them.
Well, that should be pretty cool. Now, are they letting you hook up to the different exchanges so that they can import the information, or do you have to sort of import it all yourself?
So that I don't. So that's the part I don't know.
Oh.
I wonder. They're very, like, TurboTax is really good in just prompting questions. Like, so it says, did you buy or sell crypto? And then, like, so you click on, oh, I bought crypto. And then there's a little description below and it says, as long as you haven't sold it or traded it, then this is not a taxable event. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, they didn't have a banner saying that you could import anything. But I'll have to see if there is actually, if that's, because I know Wealthsimple has that, which is really cool.
Yeah. Although here's this thing. I think last night on Jason's show, on Ken's show, Jason was mentioning that he still had to go through Coinly, even though he did Wealthsimple, because he had too many transactions. I think he said more than 1,500.
He had 1,500, but Wealthsimple says 500, and that's it. I wonder if it's like just their AI or whatever, their API. It just can't calculate it properly.
Yeah, maybe.
I've heard some issues with Coinly too. But that's just, you're going to get that with artificial intelligence, right? Where like it. So I've heard that some people have had like transactions that where they moved their coins off an exchange into a wallet, and Coinly made that a taxable event. But I wonder if it's probably because of a user error and they didn't set up their wallet as a cold wallet. They set it up as another exchange or something like that. Or
maybe. So that would be interesting to sort of see. A couple more people have popped in.
Panda.
We have Daryl. Hello, Daryl. Max is saying, don't forget to like and subscribe. Absolutely. Those buttons love attention.
Where is it, over here?
Yeah, I think so. Somewhere's in that vicinity. It's down below. I look at it this way. You've got a group of people here who buy stocks. If they can't figure out how to hit a like and subscribe button, then they're probably having a lot of trouble just navigating their way over on Wealthsimple. Bleak said nice, and we got Jordan. My wife is so awesome as to do both our taxes. We are just simple filings, though. Okay, simple. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with simple. Just at the same time, I don't mind it getting complicated because it usually means that I'm doing good things for my finances.
Absolutely.
So we all casually holding bags. The real pandemic begins now.
The money pandemic.
Yeah, there we go. And we got it's the Danters. So hey.
Heyo.
Hey, I wanted to say the rest of it. Hey, we're the monkeys.
I don't know what that's from. What is that, Candace? Pray tell.
You never heard of the monkeys?
No.
Oh.
Although I'm really bad with names and band names where like I'll hear a song and I'll probably know it.
Back when the Beatles were really big, a lot of American TV people they said, we want a super band, kind of like the Beatles. So they created this band called the Monkees and they made a show about them. And that was part of their theme song. It went, hey, we're the monkeys,
Oh, okay.
That was just their thing. And they were fairly popular, not Beatles popular, but they're fairly popular. Tim and Nancy have liked and subscribed already. Hi all, and so I activated Coin Tracker and Coinly. Awesome.
What's Tim saying seriously, Nate, about?
I'm not sure. They're coming fast and furiously. Bonnie is, hi Tim and Nancy. What, too young maybe? That's it.
Maybe.
Too many people.
I'm 37, so I don't know. Maybe. Am I too young for that? Probably.
And also I can remember way too many things that I shouldn't be able to remember. So
photographic memory, maybe?
I don't call it photographic. I call it near photographic. I have to actually want to remember something.
And the monkeys is one of those things.
Yeah, if I pay attention to something, I'll remember it. But if I don't, is it true you can call Revenue Canada and get your tax information from previous years? Yes, you can also get your tax information from previous years on the CRA website.
Yeah, my account. Use my account. That's a great way to pull up your previous years.
All right. And what do we have next? You got it, Pontiac. Hi there, Tim and Nancy. Hi there, Tim. Congrats on 400 subs, Candace. Thank you. Me and Nate are in a race. So Nate's, you're at what, 404, I think.
Yeah.
So we've been going back and forth fighting, but we're going to move to 500 together. That's going to be kind of cool.
Oh, no. Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, what was that?
I saw that Tim and Nancy, she thought I was pulling her leg about the monkeys. I'm not pulling her leg about the monkeys. I don't know the monkeys. I'll have to. Do we have like a song that we could pull up or something?
Yes. I actually, I think I was at 401. I checked a little bit earlier this evening. So I was like, okay, that's cool.
Sweet.
Let's see, Nate, it's Nance. And I thought you were being like Tim and we're pulling our legs about not knowing the monkeys. Hi, Bunny. I have an eidetic memory, a curse sometimes. I have curses too, I'm sure. Congrats, Candace. Don't be surprised if you stall at 896 or 897. Holy banana bread. If any of you guys are not subscribed to Tim and Nancy Danter, just do me a favor. Do it. Let's go over there. Throw them a couple of subs. They've been trying to get to 1,000 now for what seemed like a very long time. Like, I think I had just started my channel and they were trying to get to that 1,000. So they've been kind of in a stall spot. So we'd all like to see them get there for two reasons. One, because they deserve it. And two, because I'm tired of hearing about it. I just want them to be there and done, over with.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop there, right? Like they'll be
well, then after
years,
that,
they'll be at 5,000. They'll be at 10,000. You know,
and then there'll be that day where they're like, "Come on, guys, we just need a few more so we can get that play button." That would be kind of sweet. Ironically, because I use a green screen, if I ever get to that point that I get the play button, it's like I would have to Photoshop the play button in, which is, kind of funny because, without, uh, well, I'll show you guys since we're mentioning it. If I turn off my green screen, it's basically this, just a
Nice.
big green blanket behind me.
Here, let me turn off mine.
Okay. Ooh,
And I'd have to turn my
real
light
life,
off
it's
too.
darker. That's kind of funny. And let's see. There we go. This is where we were at. I can remember all of Tim's driving lessons. He saved me from a few accidents, so thanks, Tim. Shucks, thanks, Candace. I had nothing to do with saving Jordan from those accidents. You can have the full credit, Tim. You guys are so sweet. That was Nancy. We will get to 1,000 when BTC hits 50K. Okay, we'll hold you to that one. You're tired. LOL, and then Nate. I'm not sure what you said, but you got Tim's attention for some reason.
Probably.
All right. Now let me ask you this question. With your crypto, are you keeping your own data, your own spreadsheet on that as well, keeping track of your adjusted cost base? How's that going?
All right. So I use Delta app for that. So I'll manually enter any of my purchases in Delta app. And what I'll usually do is, Nate in the green screen. What I'll usually do is every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll go in and I'll just enter my transactions. So if you go in the Apple Store or the App Store, or even what's the other one called? The Google one? The Play Store?
Google Play or something? Okay.
Called Delta. I've shared that before. So it will give you your cost adjusted average over time and all that. And you can export everything into a CSV file as well if you like.
Okay. That's not too bad. That is not too bad at all.
Although my transactions are pretty low, although with even with ShakePay, I only buy like once every week or so. And then I DCA once on Newton, $60 every month, into 3 different coins. And like, that's it for now, because we're trying to build up our emergency fund. So I'm not too heavily diving into crypto at this point. So
that's right. Your goal
my
is
transactions are pretty.
Your goal is to get to a year, isn't it? Your goal,
So my salary as a pastor is $56,000. So my goal is to get to $56,000 in our emergency fund, and right now I believe we're at 33.
Holy banana bread! That's not bad.
I got a whole like $39 or something like that in interest.
Yeah. Over on EQ, right? That's where you're keeping it?
Yeah, EQ, yeah.
I love EQ Bank.
Yeah, so that's our EQ right now. So 33, and then that $30 was the interest I got this month. So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt if I have to dip into it before I get to the 56 in case my truck breaks down or some sort of emergency happens. But
right, that's what it's there for. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole thing. A year is really, really, really impressive. So I definitely commend you on that.
Thanks, Candace. Yeah, I think we're over half a year now, right? So 56 would be 28. So we're over half. We're over 6 months. The biggest thing for me is that, well, as you guys all know, I have 10 kids, and I'm the sole income provider. So if I was to get hurt or something like that, I I have an insane amount of insurance coverages as well,
Yeah.
like accident benefits and disability and like I've taken all of those just because of
But yeah,
my risk, right? If we were a double income family, we probably wouldn't. I wouldn't be so invested in those things. But
mhm,
if I don't know, get cancer or something like that,
yeah,
then we can get some of those benefits out of those insurances that we're paying for.
yeah, exactly. Now that must be another good part of your tax situation. Like most of your children, I assume, are still dependents. And
Yeah. So each person that's in your care that's considered a dependent, you get to um, claim them. And then also, my wife doesn't work either, so I get to take her personal amount. So I'm not sure what that is this year. I think it's like
right.
13,000 or something like that. But so what ends up happening is my income. So my $56,000 in income, that personal amount doesn't get taxed. So anything above the 13,000 will get taxed. But then my wife's amount comes in, so that's 26,000. So
Mm,
now, I'm at almost half of and then my dependents all on top of that. It used to be much better, actually. So when the conservative government was in power, you got a much higher credit per child, but now it's a little bit lower. So, but I think it's around $11,000 on top of that. So it's like I can make like $36,000 and not be taxed on any income
oh, well,
at
that's good.
36,000. And then I'm a pastor as well, so we have a housing benefit claim,
Hmm.
and that's pretty significant as well. I think it's around $15,000 of non-refundable tax credits.
Oh, wow.
Um, I literally almost pay no taxes. And then on top of that, I have my charitable giving, which
Right.
I've been not even claiming. I've just been like pushing aside. And then RRSPs as well. So each of these things are non-refundable, but what they end up doing is they end up bringing
Hmm.
your taxable income down. And so I bring it down. I try to optimize it though. So I try to bring it down to a spot where, I'm going to get the most tax advantage, and I can use those tax advantages in the future when my income is higher.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to use my entire donations for the year because I may not need to. I may only need to use $500 of them. I may not need to use my entire RRSP contributions. I may only need to use like 1,000 of them. So I try to do that as best as possible. Oh my goodness,
Wow.
that's insane.
Do they have an exit strategy, like a non-extradition country that he can get to quickly? Just that's
there's, there's something interesting though, because I do know a few people in my years gone by that I worked with that didn't file taxes. And I kind of sat down with them and just had like a heart to heart. Like, that when you file your taxes, you may actually or when you don't file your taxes, you may actually be missing out on benefits. You may actually be missing out on taxes that
mhm,
you could be receiving back. But sometimes they're just afraid, or they're overwhelmed, or they don't know what to do,
yeah,
or they think they're going to have to pay a huge penalty.
mhm,
Um, so I don't
yeah. Well, one of the I mean, when I was younger, I went 5 years once without paying taxes, but
know.
I wasn't making a lot, like, the government owed me money each of those years. There was a method to my madness, though. I
Okay.
wanted to save up for a half decent computer,
Mhm.
so I just basically did no taxes for 5 years. Then I did all my taxes at once, and I got everything back, all the money owed, all of my GSTs for the 5 years, and that was a huge lump sum, and I was able to buy my computer because I was bad at saving at one point in my life.
Yeah, and I've heard of people that actually use the government essentially as a savings account. So they will, so
Mhm.
on your, is it the T4A, the form that you fill out for your employer, you can actually ask for them to take off more taxes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
usually you'll ask for that if you have multiple jobs. Because what happens with multiple jobs is you make only a little bit, and they project that as if that's your only income.
Mhm.
So they'll tax you really low. But if you have like 3 or 4 jobs and you're making like $50,000 a year, you
Oh yeah.
may only be taxed at a low bracket, and
Or
you may end up having to pay a lot of taxes at the end, right?
or it could be a situation where you have a part-time job that you're more it's more of a self-employed side hustle.
Mhm.
So that way there you can really, by taking extra tax off at your regular job, you can sort of save yourself a whole bunch of money when tax time comes. And of course, the big elephant in the room this year is all those deferred taxes from last year,
Mm.
because the piper needs to be paid. If
Did
any of you,
anyone defer? I don't know if anyone in the comments
I know
did.
I did, but
Yeah.
I well, I looked at it this way. I owed them 1,200 last year,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, I can give them the 1,200, or I can invest the 1,200 for a year and at least get a return on that. So that's what I did. I invested the 1,200, got a return on it, and now I pay them.
That's smart, Candace. That's very
But
smart.
I know there's a lot of people who probably were like, oh, I don't have to pay it for a year. Okay, I'll go out and spend it. So there's going to be a lot of people who are going to find themselves in a crunch this year because taxes are going to come around. Some of them, they may even forgot that they owe a whole bunch of money from last year that they deferred. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And that does worry me a little bit too, because a lot of these people too, if they got into investing, they may have to start selling stocks or pulling stuff out of crypto to pay pay the piper for last year, which is kind of going to be interesting.
Which is bad, which is like a kick to the teeth twice. So it's a kick that you may be pulling out when the market's not good.
Hmm.
And also you may be creating a taxable event that you didn't want.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Because yeah, a lot of times when you put money into the market and you're planning to take it at another date, Murphy's Law means that the market's going to be in a bad position when that happens. I mean, a year ago, I'm sure nobody could foresee a war and everything else happening. So it's like,
Right.
all right. So we got the friggin' Oracle in the house, and Sandra B has come along. Hola to the Oracle. All right. I remember before I entered the workforce, I got 100 back in taxes. I know as a kid, if I got like $100 or $200 when I was a teenager back, I felt like I was rich. It was one of them amazing things. I defer when I shave my head. Okay. Okay.
Defer.
Yeah, like as in getting rid of
Getting rid of the hair.
yeah,
Hilarious.
that is very, very, very funny. Um, all right. A little bit about, I guess we should talk a little bit about crypto.
Sure.
Um, so crypto is one of those things that a lot of times people don't understand what's taxable, what's not. One of the things I have heard about this year is I've heard an argument going on about shake pay shaking stats.
Mhm.
Now, and I think I know where this argument came from because everything I've read on the CRA indicates that those are just $0 Bitcoins. They get worked into your cost average, your adjusted cost base as $0 Bitcoins. But if you go, and I don't know if it was Coinly, if you export it as from Coinly, Coinly takes those $0 Bitcoins and just calls them income. And it's just like, okay. So I had people, and I came on one of my videos as well. There were some people in the comments going on about it. It's like, is it income? You said it wasn't income, and I was like, it shouldn't be income. Then I went and saw where they saw, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to investigate this more. But that's the thing. If you have something like Coinly and it's trying to paint something up, like look at what it's telling you things are and make sure that that's accurate, because I think it just doesn't know how to handle the data. And what I did is I wanted to find out if it was Coinly making the mistake or if it was ShakePay making the mistake. So I then went through the actual comma separated comma separated value. So I hate that word. I went through those manually, and you know, it was Coinly that was interpreting it as income. They were saying no such thing in the CSV. So that's one of those things. Just double check stuff. Don't just listen to your software, especially when it comes to something that's kind of new. And crypto, I think, is one of those areas that we need more. Well, the CRA needs to have a bit more clear legislation on, and I imagine that they're going to start taking a harder look at it each year. So those people who are planning to slip through the cracks with some of your reporting this year, I don't advise that, but what I will say is that this is probably one of the last years you might be able to get away with that, just because they're really starting to look in this direction, and that doesn't mean that they won't look backwards in time. So if they get their ducks in a row next year, doesn't mean they won't come back and start auditing some people this year. And if you kind of like tried to sneak some stuff past them, you may get caught.
Yeah, the cash back rewards isn't super clear
Yeah, I
on
know.
the CRA website. Like, and even when I'm kind of looking at their page right now, they incorporate it into like payroll deductions. Like their only like article they have here talks about if an employee, so your employee's collecting loyalty points or frequent flyer points or air miles on a personal credit card when they're working for your company, are those taxable? And they're saying here you don't have to include it in their income unless those points are converted into cash right away. But there's so many cashback cards. How do you even
how do you keep track of all of that?
like?
I mean, you take a look at the exact letter of the tax laws, and if somebody gives you a birthday card with $20 in it, and you could argue that it should be taxable, although that would fall under a gift, but still, it gets a little bit interesting, I find. The good old tax laws.
I have to really dig into that, because there has to be like probably even millions of people, even millions of Canadians that are getting some sort of points or reward system. Is the government looking at changing the laws so that they can tax people for those rewards that are being given out?
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. Now, one thing I was thinking about was, and my mind just went completely blank here for a second, but it was like, yeah, I was looking at that, and then I was looking at something on the side, and I was like paying attention to that. So I'm like, what the heck was I just talking about? Had to do with taxes.
Crypto.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was kind of crypto.
Yep.
Well, I'm not sure what I was thinking about, but we'll go somewhere else anyway.
Okay.
When it comes to your capital, let's look at capital losses and capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think a lot of people don't fully understand is that they can actually be moving those around. So if you have a capital loss in crypto, you can use it against a capital gain in like the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
People don't get that. The only thing you can't use it for is if you have business losses and business gains.
Mm-hmm.
Those you can't apply with capital. So you kind of can't mix it that way, and you can't use it against income as well. But it's kind of one of the neat things. Like what I did towards the end of the year, and it's too late for this now for the last year, but I did some tax loss harvesting because I had some pretty big capital gains, and I wanted to sort of nullify them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I sold a couple of stinky stocks. I almost said stinky socks, but stinky stocks.
Stinky socks. It is.
Yeah, just to knock down those capital gains. And now, I guess right now it's too late to do anything either because we're already past the RRSP point. So now we're at the point where everybody has to sort of calculate and then get ready to pay the piper.
Hmm.
Now, it's interesting. One thing I did learn last week that I did not know is um, your foreign assets. If you have $100,000 in foreign assets, it's like, okay, I knew about that. Like I knew that there'd be a form that would have to be filled out. But I didn't realize, I thought that as long as you didn't hold $100,000 at the end of the tax year, you were good. But no, even if you hit 100,000, even if it's just for half a day, you have to fill out um, you have to fill out the tax form for it. Now you're not actually paying anything unless you, well, if you sold it, you would be, because it'd be a taxable event. But you do have to report on foreign assets that have been $100,000 or more. And that's 100,000 Canadian, not another country's currency. And that's the other big thing too, is when you're calculating and when you're reporting a lot of foreign stuff, you do have to do all of the conversions because they don't want to hear about how much it is in American or how much it is in, you know, British pounds or something. They want to know how much it is in Canadian. So you got to be able to do all of your calculations too, and your conversions, which is fun. Now, do you own a lot of foreign stuff, or are you just pure Canadian?
Well, I have like U.S. stock,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about as foreign as I get. um, Trying to think of like I have global index funds, but they're Canadian. They're Canadian based. So no, I don't own any foreign property or anything like that. Although if anyone wants to give me foreign property, then
Yeah,
I'll take that.
absolutely. Yeah, now with Wealthsimple, it's actually really easy to hold your American stock since you can have a US balance.
Mm,
But here's one of these things too I'll mention is if you're going to hold anything that pays any kind of a dividend, you want to make sure you're putting it in your RRSP because otherwise you're going to be paying a 15% withholding tax on that. And you will get that back at tax time, which is great, but you're going to lose that 15% every dividend you get, or if you sell it, that as well. Actually, selling it is not so bad. If it's in your TFSA, selling it's fine, but dividends in your TFSA do get the 15% withholding tax,
mm.
simply because the tax treaties that Canada has with the other nations only recognizes the RRSP as a registered account. It does not recognize the TFSA.
It's kind of annoying, right?
It's kind of annoying, but it does work that way, which is, you know, you got to sort of go with it. It's kind of the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And let's see here. All right. Can you use it for real estate as well? Gains, loss, that is. That's a good question. I haven't specifically looked at whether you can with real estate, but if it is a capital gain, I would assume that you could. But you want to double check that just because I haven't had a chance to look at the real estate. Do you know anything about that, Nate?
No, I saw that question and I don't think you can, but or maybe you can. It's interesting here that like, so for, if it's business operated, um, you don't actually claim a capital gain. It's actually considered business income. So if you're trading as a business and you have capital gains, they're actually treated as income
Mhm.
by RevCan, not a capital
Yeah.
gain, which
Well,
is
that also goes, I
interesting.
think, with crypto too. If you're doing a lot of day trading, it's not considered a capital gain or a capital loss. It's actually considered a business gain or a business loss because you're treating the crypto like a business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one of those interesting little things too. The interesting thing though is I think it's going to be really hard for the CRA to sort of put that all together because there's a kind of a level of intent in there.
Yeah,
Other
they
than,
have. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say they do have an example here on their website, and it makes it actually fairly clear. It says Alice regularly buys and sells various types of cryptocurrency. She pays close attention to the fluctuations in the value of cryptocurrency and intends to profit from those fluctuations. Her activities are consistent with someone who is engaged in the business of day trading.
Mm-hmm.
In 2007, Alice sold $240,000 worth of various cryptocurrencies. Wow. Which
Mm-hmm.
she originally purchased for $200,000. Her net profit is $40,000. Since Alice is actively trading in cryptocurrency, which is a commercial activity, she has to report business income of
Mm-hmm.
$40,000 on her 2017 return. So in this example, I know this is just a nuance,
Mm-hmm.
but that would sound like they would see you day trading as a business event,
Yeah.
as a commercial activity, not as a, because a regular person isn't going to be trading 10 times a day.
No, and
That
that's the
is
thing.
that
If
is
you're
a business.
Yeah, if you're doing it 10 times a day and you're doing it like every day, um, there's no doubt whatsoever. But you could go in to do it just a couple of times with an intent to make profits, and technically, it would still be a business income, but they may not read it that way because they can't tell what your intent is
Mm,
without you declaring what your intent is.
that's true.
So it's kind of one of those things. If you're just doing it every so often, it's not going to be a big issue. But if you're doing it regularly, then you may want to be looking at that as a business income and business losses. It means that you get taxed more on it, but it's kind of, look at it this way. If you're a day trader, that is your income. That's why they would tax that as income, as business income instead of as capital, because it's not something you're saving. That's you making and eking out your living. So what stocks were they? Daryl, I'm not sure. Were they the American stocks that he's asking about? I'm not sure. Daryl, if you could just clarify, then we'll answer that. Can the crypto loss be carried over to use against real estate gains? And that's a really good question.
What does he say?
A crypto loss, can it be carried over against real estate gains?
Well, that was kind of the same question as he
I
had
think
before,
it
wasn't it?
was, yeah. It sounds exactly like the same question. So that'll be one of those ones that we'll have to look into that. But we'll find an answer for you, Tim. And we'll get that to you.
Now, losses and gains, you can carry them, or sorry, losses, you can carry them against gains you had in previous years, up to 3 years back.
Mhm. Yeah, you can go backwards, but you can also carry them indefinitely forward, which is
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Do you only pay tax in your personal account if you cash out into your bank account, as long as it stays in the Wealthsimple personal account or buying and selling within that account? Okay,
Mm-mm.
it's taxable. Everything in your personal account, if it's not in the form of a stock, it becomes taxable. Well, not if you put money in there and it's just sitting there as money, then you're fine. But anytime you sell something in your personal account, that's going to create a taxable event. So
Mm-hmm.
even though you may keep that money in Wealthsimple and then buy another stock, it doesn't matter because you're not in a protected account. So it is taxable in that case.
Yeah, that's where it's different in your RSP or your TFSA, right? Like those, if you sell in the account or trade in the account, it's not a taxable event until it actually. Well, TFSA just is never a taxable event. But for your RSP, if you were to withdraw that cash, then you'll have to pay withholding tax on that.
Mm-hmm. And the friggin' Oracle, I'm heavily investing in rubles right now. I have a feeling that's kind of illegal. Like, I don't think you're allowed to invest in anything Russian at the moment.
Ken would be illegal.
Yes, friggin' Oracle has found himself his new coin, and I guess he rushed in to get it. All right. Where do you buy those, Oracle? Does a VPN help you avoid all this trouble? No, it does not. You still have to account for your money, right? Um, if you use a VPN, it just makes it harder for people to track you online. But they can still track you through the blockchain. The VPN can't change that. I can't avoid. Yeah, just it's always a bad idea to avoid taxes. I'm just going to leave it at that. Can't any capital loss be carried over? Yes, your capital losses can be carried forward as long as you like. If you have a big loss this year, and you do, you don't need to use it. You can carry it. Maybe you don't even need to use it until like 2030, but you can keep carrying it forward. So you don't lose. You don't lose it. You don't lose your loss, if that makes sense. MC, I don't see this, so you have to do KYC for most products. Yeah, and KYC is going to become more and more the rule. The few things that you can get into that don't require KYC today will probably need them down the road. The rule might be a good buy, as it's just lost so much value, but it could be similar to Nortel. And once again, I honestly, and I may be wrong, but I don't think you're allowed to buy the ruble.
Where would you buy it? Like just on
you have to do it through like
a Forex exchange or something?
I thought that they weren't letting us do that. But maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the way I interpreted what I heard on the news about it. How can they know what I do on my wallets? The blockchain. The blockchain is read only. Once information is copied into it, it becomes read only. It is there forever. Doing shady, nefarious things, the blockchain is not the best thing to have involved in that, because that record is there of what you've done, where things have moved. So it's just never a good idea to try to beat the system that way.
Did you hear about the hackers of Bitfinex that had hacked 119,000 Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And they traced them because of the blockchain.
Yeah.
So these people didn't even, the two people didn't even use like a mixer or even move it into Monero or anything. They just thought it was okay to just leave it there. And then as soon as it started moving, and as soon as they put it on an exchange, that's when they got caught.
And the friggin' Oracle says there are ways to invest without KYC, and you can use a VPN for trading and BTC ATM for withdrawal. Just saying, not financial advice. You might want to add a not legal advice as well, Ken. So this is Ken giving us an example of what you shouldn't really be doing, folks. And then he buys his rubles from Russia direct. Oh dear. I know.
Oh, my battery. I gotta swap my battery on my camera.
Okay. All right, he's gonna swap his battery. And when I stake and sell to compound all the time, those are all taxable events. Yeah, I mean, if you're selling, it's a taxable event. When you look at anything you get back from staking, that is also taxable. So it's one of these things. Now, I know for a fact a lot of people are just not used to tracking all of this, and I would not be shocked if people miss a few little things here and there this year. And I think even the CRA wouldn't be shocked. But if they look and they see that you've missed a few little things, they will begin to make sure that you pay for those things. But yeah. And Tim Danter says, MC, think about it this way. If the government goes to anything other than a cold wallet, they could know who you are due to you performing the KYC. So yeah, if you've done if you're using an exchange where you've done KYC, then they know who you are. The blockchain has an exact directions to what you've done with that crypto. So you'd be surprised how easy they could follow that. And the amount of information. Heck, if you ever if you ever are watching Ken when he's looking at different coins at night, sometimes he jumps into the actual blockchain and starts tracking stuff around. So, and Ken doesn't have the same resources that the government has, although he might have a better computer. But don't kid yourself. Any exchange playing nice with the SEC, have your info. All the government has to do is order them to surrender in an audit. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things too, when it comes to a lot of the regulatory bodies, a lot of these exchanges will play ball with them big time, because the last thing they want is to basically get on their bad sides and end up running into situations where they can't do business, whether it be in a particular province or anything like that. So it's just never a good idea. Here's your best idea when it comes to crypto. Make a crap load of money. So that way whatever you do have to pay it's just coming out of some of your profits and you're still way ahead. That's kind of the whole general idea. And then utilize other things like tax loss harvesting. If you've got your RRSP that's nice and not very full, then that might be a good time to start putting stuff into your RRSP for next year, because it's too late for this year. That just closed. And of course, as Nate was mentioning too, there's a lot of charities that could use some help, and you can use that money as well. And politicians, they're looking for money as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can sort of balance out your taxes. And what you need to really do is sort of be very strategic with how you do it, because what you want to do is what my goal usually is. I'll look and see what tax bracket I'm in and what it will take to put me in the tax bracket below the one I'm in. Because once you do that, once you lower yourself down a tax bracket, well, you've created a whole bunch of extra money in your pocket by doing that, because that percentage that you're paying has gone down.
And there's a bunch of benefits that you may be able to realize that you don't even know about. Like there's the Canada's Workers Benefit. Mm-hmm. If you make under, I think it's 18,000 a year, you can qualify for that. But that doesn't mean you have to make $18,000 a year. You could make $30,000 and then bring your income down with your RSP, your charitable donations, moving expenses, and then qualify for that benefit. And that puts in an extra like $2,000 in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're any of these people who are working at home, there are benefits as well for people who work at home. If you're working at home, like your business has you working at home because of the illness, there are things you can apply for and different benefits you will get, like a lot of tax write-offs just for, some of the equipment, even a little bit of your electricity. I mean, it's actually really cool what is available. And those are things that you want to be utilizing, because you want to keep as much of your money in your own pocket. You don't want to be giving it to the government, because they will take whatever, they're not going to sit here and say, oh, look, this poor person missed all of this here they could have applied for. They're not going to point that out to you. They're just going to take the money. And if you've made a mistake, so be it. They're going to take that too. Now, mind you, if you make a mistake in the wrong way, they will be very quick to point it out if they catch you. So that is something to keep in mind. Okay, and here we got Daryl again. How much will they tax you on BTC? Don't say 40%. All right, so on your Bitcoin, they're only going to tax you if you sell. So if you're holding Bitcoin or any crypto, you don't have to worry about paying tax until you sell it. And then once you sell it, you're going to basically pay 50% on, 50%, you're not paying 50%, but 50% of the capital gain on that is taxable. So that will go into, and then then will be a percentage of that. It's not going to be like, if you made $100, doesn't mean that they get 50 right away. It means that 50 of it becomes taxable. That goes into your income amounts, and then that gets taxed the way everything else would. But keep in mind, so if you bought your Bitcoin, let's say at $40,000, and then you sold it at $40,000 and 100, well, that's that 100 I'm talking about. It's only the difference between what you bought and sold. But if you dollar cost average, so you buy in at a whole bunch of different places, then you have to, that's where that whole adjusted cost base comes in. So what it basically is it's an average price that you paid over the life of your crypto. So that way there, when you sell, you're calculating against your average. You're not calculating against anything else, because if you think about it, if you've sold a fair amount of crypto, you don't know where that price is, because you may have bought some at the lowest price, you may have bought some at the highest price, you may have bought some at the middle price. Hence the reason you're using that average, which is fun. I actually do have a video on how to calculate that if you want to check that out.
There, sorry, can I
No,
talk?
go ahead. Yeah.
So when you look over like the crypto transactions on the CRA, it's so like gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right here, it says to figure out the value of your cryptocurrency transaction where a direct value cannot be determined, you must just use a reasonable method. And so
Mm-hmm.
they want you to use a reasonable method, but whatever method you use, they ask you to use it consistently, and that's it. So
Yeah.
you could use an exchange, and then they say you can use an exchange rate in Canada, you can use a global exchange rate, you can use an exchange rate from your broker, however you're using. You can use an average of midday values, you can use high volume exchange brokers. Whichever method you choose, just do it consistently,
Exactly. Well,
which I
what I
think is
saw.
hilarious. So yeah, if you're going to do like an average, like you're talking about, Candace, then just do that for every transaction that you sell. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do first in, first out, then do that consistently. Now, if you're doing 1,500 transaction, I don't think you're going to do first in, first out. If you're doing one transaction, that might be easy enough to do.
And even then, if your out is bigger than your in, that completely falls apart. When I read some of the grayness that they have on their site, I then went to look at some of the bigger tax professionals
Mm.
within the country to see how they were all doing it, and they're all using adjusted cost base. So I'm like, okay, if all of the professionals are using that, that's what I'm going to tell folks to use, and that makes the most sense. It's the most logical, because you're
Hmm.
using a meaning price, and that works. But they
Yeah,
will.
whatever method you use, you got to stick to that. So you can't decide, okay, well, I'm going to use because I had like a huge capital loss because I bought Bitcoin at $89,000 and I made a sale, so I'm going to use that. Well, then you're going to have to use that for every transaction, and that's how you're going to have to calculate it all. If you use average cost base, then you're going to have to use that for every transaction into the future, and it has to be consistent.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, these are some of the legislation that I expect to see rewritten within the next couple of years.
Yeah, it has to be clear. It's not clear
I
right now.
think,
It's just this
yeah, and
gray. It's this
that
gray mat that
well,
people are just like,
exactly,
well, this is the way I'm going to do it.
exactly. So I imagine, and considering all of the tax professionals are using adjusted cost base, that's what they're going to go with. It's a matter of time. The writing's on the wall. And so anybody who hasn't shaken yet today, by the way, I just saw it again on Nate's shirt. Make sure you shake your shake pay.
Did you? Did you?
Did you shake? How many months of jail to erase it all? If they come after me, I have enough losses to not pay taxes for a while. Well, it's good to have losses sometimes. Hi, Sharab. And you see farmers doing this all the time. They purchase new trucks and farm equipment in December to offset taxes. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're buying it for your business, then yeah, absolutely. And it's the same thing I did in December. I did it. I calculated how much I needed to lose. So, and then I went about doing it.
Mm.
And that makes, to me, that makes sense. So yeah, in December you got tax loss harvesting that you can use, but once you then get into January, at that point the only thing you really have left is your RRSP that you can use. Because, and I'm kind of glad they give you that extra bit because um, when you start receiving your stuff in February, if you miscalculated something, you'll usually can figure that out quickly before the end of February hits, and you lose your opportunity to offset more with your RRSP if you need to.
Mm.
So that's kind of fun. The good old taxes. Um, okay, now hopefully, I think so. Looking at, oh yeah, I think Daryl, we got your question, so we're good on that. Now, if you guys do have any other specific tax questions, this is the time to be dropping them in. That way, there we can sort of hit up on those for you. And whatever that thing was, I was going to ask you a while earlier ago. It's just not there. I'm like, what the heck? It couldn't have been important if it's just not coming back.
Yeah, I
But
guess not, eh?
I know. I know. Huh.
So I did. I pasted in the chat there. This hasn't come up yet, but I pasted in the chat there a guide to
Is it a link?
capital gains.
If it's a link,
It'll block it.
it probably will block it.
Okay. Do you want me to
If
give it
you
to you?
if you drop it on the private, I can just copy and paste it over for you.
Okay, there you go. So that's the guide to capital gains. It doesn't look like you can actually transfer losses to property.
See that? Didn't want to hear that, but it's good to know that.
Yeah, because property has gone up like insane, right? And it would be nice to be able to transfer those losses over.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I think what I was going to mention too is capital gains. I know that there was some talk in the last election about the possibility of changing to sort of make up for the money lost in the illness, changing the capital gains to 75% instead of 50% taxable. It didn't go through though, but depending on depending on who ends up coming in next time in the election, I think that's a possibility. I think the NDP want it.
Oh, of course they do.
I'm not sure about the Liberals. They're kind of on the wall. I don't think the Conservatives want it. And the way things are going right now, well, a week ago, I thought it was going to be the Conservatives win the next election, hands down. But it seems like since the war started, nobody's even paying attention to to the Liberals anymore. So
Yep,
that can only work in their favor at the moment.
100%.
So that'll be interesting to see. But I don't think, and this is a nice thing, no matter what happens, I don't think you'll see another election for a while. Take the Conservative Leadership Party, I think that's going to be in September.
Yeah, September 10th.
Yeah, September. So they're going to want to get a leader in, and then they're also going to want that leader to have a little bit of an opportunity to get the party in shape for an election before one happens. So I don't think anybody will let that happen. Also, right now, I don't think any party is even remotely ready for an election. So it's probably going to be status quo, at least until I will bet, I would say about a year, I think. I think we'll see an election probably next spring, not this one. If I had to bet.
Yeah, it's interesting how quick, like, of course, there's that, like, the crazy war that's going on in Ukraine, but how quick that took away a lot of attention on things that were happening locally, and now people might not ever even remember all of
I
the.
know. People have a short memory attention span.
And of course, they're going to take advantage of that. Like, why wouldn't they, right?
That's true. That's true. Well, I'm just hoping that this war doesn't go too long, but I
Mm,
heard some estimates like 10 years, and I'm thinking, 10 years? Holy banana bread, that's a long war.
that's interesting.
The only good thing about it is once people get used to the fact that the war is happening, that will bring a little bit of stability to the market in certain areas. Um, I think there's going to be a few other areas. Like right now, the chips are going to be such a because a lot of the raw materials for computer chips come out of Ukraine.
Mm.
So that's going to be a bit of an issue. Although, if you think about it this way, if Ukraine can't supply them, Canada has a lot, provides a lot of raw materials for chips as well. So maybe those Canadian stocks might actually do better if you look
Yeah.
at it this way, because there'll be a higher demand for their chips, for their raw materials.
Well, Canada has a ton of resources,
Oh, we
and
do.
we just have been done well at marketing them to the
Hmm.
um, global economy. I saw a thing about like the amount of natural gas that Canada has. Russia has like, I think they're number one for natural gas in the world, but Canada's like a close second for
Yeah.
natural gas. But we only use it for us in the U.S. So if we can start shipping it off the East Coast, off Newfoundland to Europe,
Hmm. And then, I mean, when you look in Alberta and the oil sands, all of a sudden it's going to be cost effective to start pulling oil out of the oil sands again.
did you see the tweet by Elon Musk
I
about
did.
oil?
I
That's
saw.
very interesting.
Yeah, and for those who didn't see it last night, basically Elon tweeted, "We need to start increasing drastically the amount of gas and oil that we produce." I think he said natural gas and oil, and that's true. Right now, I mean, just look at the gas pump here right now. If anybody here happens to be in BC, you know what I'm talking about. Um, it's like over $2 a liter in BC. So I don't know what it is where you are, but these are prices that they're going to go beyond the pump. Like they're going to start. I mean, it's going to cost more just to ship things. So
Hmm.
you're going to be looking at price increases right across the board. So it's one of those. It's just one of those things that kind of it feeds on itself. It's like if you've ever heard of like a feedback loop, that's kind of what we've got. We've got this very negative feedback loop that's creating more and more prices. So hopefully, I don't want there to be war going on over there because when one of them is a nuclear power, it's like, and it's not even that. I mean, just last a couple nights ago when they were shelling a nuclear plant, I'm just like, oh dear God, that's just not something you should be doing.
Chernobyl all over again.
Well, this thing's worse than Chernobyl. And that was the whole thing. Like in the middle of the night, when this was happening, the president of the Ukraine was president. Yeah, he's a president. He was on. He went on the air basically to let people know that if Russia doesn't stop shelling this nuclear plant, the disaster might mean that they may have to evacuate parts of Europe because that's how bad it would be. So it's just like, but this next part is kind of disturbing, but it's also kind of reassuring at the same time. The Russians came in, they sort of took over the power plant, and they wouldn't let the employees leave. They kind of held them there at gunpoint to make sure that they stopped it from, stopped any kind of a chance of a meltdown type of thing. And it's like, at least it shows that the Russians didn't really want it to, sort of go kabooey.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think they probably needed to hold them at gunpoint, but also keep in mind too that might even be a little bit of propaganda on our side too. So it's hard to you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Usually nowadays, I need to find it. I need multiple sources before I start to believe something.
Yeah, I saw there's a couple like prominent people on Twitter that have said they're not sharing like pictures anymore
Mhm.
because they keep getting called out for the pictures being fake. So they're like, and they can't even, and they're like journalists and they can't even figure out what's fake and what's not.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, journalists were sharing like pictures of oh my goodness, look at all these people running out of Kiev. And then you find out it's actually a movie that was made in the early 2000s. And they're like, oh, whoops. Like, but they're just lots of stuff based on emotion. And that, for sure, there's like a lot of, there's real stuff going on, but you're right. There's some propaganda out there too. And yeah, we're a buck 72 today in close to my house. So
Yeah. Well, at least Ken's wife, gets a bit of a discount, which is good because even $35, it's still a lot of money. So it's just not a good thing. Yeah, what's the world coming to? I don't know. But all right, guys. So we're slowly getting towards the end. So we got about 15 minutes. If you guys got your final questions, and like I always say, if you have a doozy of a question you drop in, it may take us past the 15-minute mark. So, but yeah, let's just drop them in. So what's going on your channel this week? What do you got planned?
So I filmed 2 videos today. So I've been doing a series, or I guess I don't know what you want to call it, a segment on my show. It was supposed to be like 7 minutes, but it's stretching. so, so I'm just covering some articles that I find really interesting. So the first one I covered was from Bitcoin Magazine, and then the last one I covered was from News BTC, and just went over the history of digital money. And this one I just am covering, or just recorded today, was from CoinDesk, and it's about Ukraine and just how this has really opened the eyes of the world to the freedom that Bitcoin can actually provide in transactions and those kinds of things. And there was one real cool story that I didn't cover it, but there was one cool story I read that I was thinking of doing, but I didn't, about a Ukrainian guy that worked for a financial firm in Ukraine, and half of his salary was paid in Bitcoin.
Okay.
So actually, the only way that he was able to get out of Ukraine on time was because he had that extra Bitcoin, where everyone else was trying to rush to the banks and pull money out of the ATM, and it just wasn't working. So he was able to get to the border and then cross the border into Poland, and then trade his Bitcoin for Polish dollars, and then buy food and stuff like that. And 2 hours after he crossed the border was closed to men. So the Ukrainian government said men are not allowed to cross anymore. Men have to stay and fight. So he was able, but now, because he's on the other side, he is funding with his Bitcoin hackers.
Okay.
Listen to this. Like, this is crazy. So he's funding hackers that are now hacking infrastructures in the Russian government and different news agencies that are providing propaganda and stuff like that. So they're going in and they're shutting down web pages of the Russian government, and he's helping that, all because of Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. But I think a lot of people are actually seeing the use case now, because many people didn't see a value proposition for Bitcoin for so long. They're like, well, what is it? It's just this magical internet money. But now people are saying, well, Nathan Polmateer, can transfer Bitcoin to the president of Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't do that in World War II. You couldn't do that like during the Vietnam War. You couldn't do that any other time. Like, I could help by, the only way I can, by sending money, right? And it can go directly to that source, which is pretty crazy.
If only there was a way you could write off some of that as a charitable donation.
Yeah, possibly. Absolutely. Yeah.
That is very, very cool. Dave D has a actual, and you're not Dave D, that's Chris. Chris is saying 161, 176 in Ottawa. Dave D has a tax question. So he's charged for driving a company vehicle. They add it to my gross pay. I pay tax on it and they take it back. Okay, so I'm charged for driving a company vehicle. They add it to my gross pay. I pay tax on it, then they take it back.
They take the tax back?
Or they take the car back.
So there are taxable benefits that you can get from your company. So if your company buys you a laptop and stuff like that to work from home, those can be taxable benefits if you're not paying like out of your own pocket. So that could be what they're doing. Like they're
But it
giving
sounds like
you
if
they're
it's being
giving you a
charged,
vehicle, or I'm charged for driving a company vehicle.
but then they add it to his gross. I'm not entirely
By
100%
charge,
sure.
does he mean it's on his T4? Like it shows on his T4 that he's, because they pay the gas and everything for him.
Hmm,
It's
maybe. It's hard to say. Dave, you have to throw us some more information on this, Dave, so that because we're not 100% sure what you mean.
yeah. There are sometimes employers don't 100% know their tax law. I remember us getting benefits from our last company and health benefits, and they started uh, charging us. Like the company would take pay off of us. And then so I did a little bit of digging. I was like, this isn't a tax. Like you can't take taxes from me for this because it's not taxable. Um, anyway.
Yeah, no, I used to work at Rogers a long time ago, and I won a gift card once for something, and then when I got my pay, I found out that they charged me for it. Well, that didn't charge me, but they added it as taxable income. I was just like, oh, seriously.
Hmm.
So one of those things. It's like sometimes it depends on the companies. There's other companies that will be just like. I always look at it this way: if you get a company, if I had a company and I wanted to give somebody a gift card, um, I'm not going to charge them as income and use it as a write off. I'm just going to give them the card. I'll absorb the taxes. But it depends on the company. Chris says pretty vague question there. Sounds like employer scam. I can't even say if it is or not. We just don't have enough information on that.
Um, if Dave, if you want to look at the CRA website and just search up automobile and motor vehicle benefits, and they have in there like if you use the vehicle for personal use, then that's a taxable benefit for the employee. So I don't know. Maybe you're using the vehicle as personal use, and then they're taxing you on that. An employee may use their personal vehicles to carry out their employment duties and get an allowance for the business use, and the reimbursement for this may be a taxable benefit as well. So I don't know what, like the question is a little bit vague and kind of miscombobulated, but check out the CRA and bring it to your employer if you have an issue with it. That's what I would
Yeah.
say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Chris has had the same thing happen to him with different companies. So I get annoyed anytime I think I worked very briefly for Rogers because I have this philosophy. When I went into work at Rogers, I was in one of their call centers. Um, they were very much into selling stuff. It's like, you should be selling this, that, and everything. And I'm like, I'm not going to sell anything unless it makes sense for the customer. And that wasn't their way. And so I had fundamental issues with it because I'm not really a salesperson.
Mm.
Um, I don't have a sales background. My background is science, so I don't have to sell things to atoms. They just make up everything. So that's kind of funny. um, see, and maybe Chris read it right. Dave is thinking of the same thing. So definitely check your resources. Because if it smells stinky, it's worth investigating. MC says, I get a TFSA with my bank, but I need to sell the crypto and send to my checking account because ShakePay doesn't allow you to sell to a different account. And then want to transfer to TFSA. Yeah, but it doesn't. The whole thing is because you can't hold Bitcoin in your TFSA, the only way to get that that value into your TFSA is to sell it. It doesn't matter what accounts you have, you still are selling it, creating a taxable event, then moving that into your TFSA. So then any gains that money, once it gets into your TFSA makes, you've got nothing to worry about. But in the process of selling your Bitcoin, you're creating a taxable event. So if you purchase your Bitcoin cheaper, if your average price is cheaper than what you're selling it for right now, then there will be some capital gain in there. I still
What
pay
this is a
taxes.
are they saying they have Bitcoin and they want to open a TFSA? Is that what they're saying?
I think she wants to take the value of her Bitcoin.
And
So it
put it
says
into a
she wants to
TFSA?
sell it and then send it to then send it to her checking account so that she can then move it into her. Well,
Is that
yeah,
what she's saying? Or does she have Bitcoin in a TFSA? That doesn't make sense.
no, you can't have Bitcoin in a
If I
TFSA.
get a TFSA with my bank, but I need to sell the crypto.
Then send to my checking account because ShakePay doesn't allow you to sell to a different account.
Oh yeah. So she would have to pay taxes on whatever if you had gains, or it might be a capital loss and then you won't pay taxes. You'll just be able to use that loss.
Yeah. And here's what Chris says, Dave. It sounds to me like they are charging you to rent the truck as a contractor and then trying to pay you as an employee, illegal, if in Ontario at least. I've been down that road with a company here. So, yeah, definitely look into that, Dave. Now, Dave, I believe, is in Alberta. I think he's up in Edmonton, if my memory serves me correct.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's one of those things you want to. It's not always that a company is trying to screw you over, but sometimes companies don't actually know the actual labor laws. So that's one of those things. If you're working for somebody else, it's always good to be aware of what the labor laws are. Check them out, find out what your rights are as an employer or an employee, or if you hire somebody as an employer or even as a contractor. Um, you know, MC, you're not going to, well, you might be going to jail, but that's probably not the best option. Um, that's one of those things. Every so often, I have a jail dream, which is weird. Do you ever have dreams like that where it's like you just in your dream you commit some crime and you're guilty, you're totally guilty, and then you're going to jail and you're like, how did I just screw up my entire life? And
I
then
haven't had a jail dream, Candace.
well, I have.
I've had a lot of
Then when
like
I wake up
weird
in the
dreams where I'm
morning and
drowning and stuff.
yeah. Well, when I wake up in the morning, I'm so relieved. It's like, oh my God, thank God. But here's the funny thing. When I have a jail dream like that, because I committed a crime in my dream, even though a lot of times I don't even know what crime I committed because it's never brought up in the dream, but that sense of guilt will come with me into the morning.
Mm.
It's like it takes me until about lunchtime to shake away the guilt from this whatever crime it was in the middle of the night. No, it's not a fetish. Oracle. Oh dear. It's sort of like um have you ever had one of those dreams? I know we're kind of off on a tangent here.
A little bit.
I've had these dreams where I've had like a roommate or somebody I know do something they're not allowed to do. So I used to have a roommate years ago, and I have this thing with cats. I don't give them human food. But in my dream, my roommate gave my cat human food. And when I woke up the next morning, I was still mad at her from the dream. And it quite literally took half a day to shake that feeling of anger away. I was being pleasant, and everything. But in the back of my mind, I was just like, oh, I know it wasn't her. It was just in the dream, but I'm just so annoyed. So that's kind of a funny little thing here. And yes, Edmonton, I'm paying taxes on $50 per day for driving a company vehicle. I'm sure it works to their benefit. Yeah.
Maybe and maybe not. So the only thing I could think is that they're allowing you to use the vehicle for personal use. So are they allowing you to use the vehicle like on not work hours? Because if
Yeah.
they are and they're only charging you $50, then you're
That's not a bad deal
then
if that's
you're getting a good deal. But if it's just for driving around all day and then you park it in their lot, then no, that's not. You shouldn't be paying that. That's crazy. But I don't
absolutely.
know the circumstance clearly. Um,
Absolutely. So we're in the dying moments, folks. If you got any last questions, just feel free to drop them. Let's
oh,
see.
the other video I shot today was just how to prepare your taxes. In that, like, how to organize yourself. So it
Right.
wasn't actually like walking through how to like do your taxes, but like how to get your mind around it. Because
Okay.
sometimes people just don't really know where to even start. So I
Mhm.
walk through, okay, you need to start making a list, get a folder, all these different things. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds very, very good. Definitely with these two that you did today, make sure to share them on my site when you publish them.
Okay.
That way, their folks can grab them. Also, I mean, if you guys go down below, the very first link in my contact information is for Nate's channel. So if you guys have not been over on Nate's channel yet, go over, throw him a subscribe, check him out. He's got some good content and he's got a lot of shorts. He's the reason I'm doing a lot of shorts. But the shorts work. So that's a good thing. Coming up on my channel this week, a billion shorts. Well,
Wow.
not a billion,
Cool.
seven shorts. Uh,
Amazing.
I got a video coming out on Monday on the healthcare sector. And I've had a request as well from Verena for another ETF video. So I'm mulling that over in my mind. And I think I'm going to do a dream team ETF video.
Mm.
That'll probably be out in about a week or so. So, but that's just that way there, Verena knows I haven't forgotten about her request. Of course, over on the Facebook page as well, guys, you guys can make requests. I will do my best to try to get to them because, I want to give you guys the content that you want to watch, which is kind of cool. Tomorrow night is, of course, back to the metaverse with the sandbox over on Twitch. So I'll throw the link up again over on the Facebook page. This time it should be a lot more interesting because uh, sandbox actually looks like it's going to work, opposed to
Mm.
last week and DeFi Land, which was um, a giant blooper reel in the making, basically. So yeah, that's what I've got this week. Last couple questions here before we go. All that matters, Dave, is that you're okay with it. If not, look for better. Where will babies come from? I heard we have a stork shortage. So Ken, go talk to your lovely wife and she will explain it all to you. Happiness is what matters. I bring it home every night. I can drive to the store or something when I'm not working, but no long distance.
Mm.
Okay.
There
Sort
might
of,
be something there.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Definitely interesting, Dave. Definitely. I would just I would look into it, make sure that you're okay with the deal that you're getting. Maybe even talk to some of your coworkers who have similar deals and make sure that you're all getting the same deal. Because, I strongly believe in fairness. MIR4. MIR4. I'm just Googling this really quickly here because I'm pretty sure it's a coin. Oh no, it's a game. Free to play open world Asian fantasy MMORPG. Oh, well, PG, sorry. That can be cross played with both PC and mobile devices. It sounds interesting. I don't know if I can play it though, because I have a Mac ecosystem, so some games you just are not able to play on Macs, which is really interesting because even though I thought that Axie Infinity would be another one I wanted to play, apparently they don't have a Mac version yet. So that is going to be Interesting. It looks like we just lost Nate, but that's okay. We're at the end of the stream anyway. Friggin' Oracle has to have the last laugh. Cats like to poop in sandboxes, just saying. Oh, holy banana bread. So that's actually kind of funny. I have a feeling this sandbox is going to be a little bit better, but I'm going to play around with it tomorrow afternoon before the Twitch stream, just to make sure that all of my ducks are in a row. Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. It is back.
Click the wrong button.
Okay. I thought it was just like, Candace, you're taking too long to leave.
It's like, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.
There we go. Now, all of you who just scratched out his address and said, I'm not going over there now, you can unscratch it out, right, and go over and check out his crypto involved in that game. Probably. I haven't had a chance, like I said, I haven't had a chance to look too deep into MER 4, but it does sound like it'll be an interesting game. Well, maybe once they get it onto the Mac. But everybody gets charged differently depending on how far they live from the from the shop. So it sounds to me like they're probably discouraging anything other than just getting yourself back to and from work. However, here's another thing. If they're charging you $50 a week, how much would it cost you in gas to drive to and from work each week? If that's about the same, then you're probably actually still in better shape because you're not paying the wear and tear on your car to do it. So that might be an interesting thing to sort of keep in mind.
They probably charge per kilometer, right? It's probably a set value, like let's say 50 cents a kilometer. And then if you travel 10 kilometers to and from work a day, then they multiply that throughout the week by the 50 cents.
Right now, it's probably getting better each week because the gas is going up.
You're getting a skookum deal there, bud.
Yeah, just keep on that deal until they decide to change it, because if they're in it for the dollar, they might very well do that once the price of gas almost doubles. All right, everybody. I think this is it. I do not see any more questions. Big thank you, Nate, for coming on tonight. Always fun to have you. Yeah, and this is our first thing where there's been no lag at all on the stream, which is awesome. I like that. Anyway, everybody, thank you guys all for coming out here tonight. It's been fantastic seeing a full house. Any of you who came in late, and if you want to catch the beginning, of course, it will be available over onto the Facebook page. And if you haven't yet liked and subscribed, do that. It helps the channel in more ways than you could know, or you might know, in which case you've already done it. All right. Anyway, it's been fun seeing you guys. I will see you guys next week, and we'll have another great show. Take care, everybody.